So why can't you understand French audios and why native spoken French feels difficult to understand? Well, here is the hard truth. See, most French learners, they're trying to read and translate when they're trying to listen something, not really go with the contextual flow. And how to do it, I'll definitely be talking about that today in the video. First, I would have this phrase in front of you guys. Let's read this and understand what are we trying to pronounce in our mind, or what is the expectation when it comes to listening to this phrase. Okay, so I'll be speaking this phrase, je ne sais pas ce qu'il veut dire. So this is a normal way anyone would pronounce, okay, or this is a normal way anyone would expect oneself to listen, okay. But when natives, when they're speaking this particular phrase, it can sound something like this, je sais pas ce qu'il veut dire, okay. So you guys see, a lot of contractions have been happening and a lot of mix of words is happening, which is making it difficult for us to understand what is going on. So the sentence, je ne sais pas ce qu'il veut dire, it basically, the first syllable got contracted into je sais pas ce qu'il veut dire. So this is the reason why we are not able to understand the spoken French, why we are not able to improve in our listening. But here is a strategy. I will be talking about a proper step-by-step, you can say, things to observe or things to work on to improve your listening, alright. The gap, when we talk about the gap, it's not really a vocabulary gap. Why? Because you know the sentence that we talked about, but it's actually a listening gap. Why? Because if it would be, the problem would be vocabulary, you won't even be able to understand the written meaning of this particular sentence, but you were able to understand that. It's just that when it was spoken, je sais pas ce qu'il veut dire, then you were not able to understand or connect it with the dots. And that's more sort of like a listening gap. That means there has to be some strategies, there has to be some expressions, or you can say some techniques that you need to know during your listening practice in order to work on improving your listening. Alright, so I'm going to share my own, you can say, these secrets or these things that I have observed and the things that I've worked on in order to help me improve my listening skills. Alright, first one is going to be chunk listening. Okay, listening to the audios in chunks, or not audios, listening to one expression in a chunk. Okay, one big mistake we are making is that we are trying to listen word by word. Alright, so je ne sais pas ce qu'il veut dire. If we listen to something like this, we are like, oh yeah, very good, like this is something I'm able to listen and understand. But in the real language, it's actually just going to be like this, je sais pas ce qu'il veut dire. Alright, so this is something which we have to slowly build over the time. You have to train your ears to hear the chunks, not just word by word. Okay, so I'll give 3 more examples. There is one expression, il faut que. Okay, il faut que. But in quick French, it will be spoken like il faut que. You want to listen it like il faut que, but it will be pronounced like il faut que. Je suis en train de. This will be spoken as je suis en train de. Okay. Tu as vu. This will be pronounced as t'as vu. So you will have to observe these type of expressions, and you will have to make sure that when you are doing the listening practice, you're always focusing on these expressions, because these expressions, they're repetitive. They will repeat more and more in the language learning, and they are going to set a proper context for you. So do not try to understand word by word. The goal should be to do the chunk listening to understand the expression rather than the word. Okay. The second point is sound reductions and elisions. Alright, there are certain expressions or certain group of words in French which combines together and they get contracted. One example we have already talked about, it's tu as vu. Okay, tu as changes to ta. I'm going to talk about 2 to 3 more examples. Je ne sais pas. This becomes je sais pas. Okay, tu es là. This becomes t'es là. Okay, and one previous example that we talked about, tu as vu. This becomes t'as vu. Alright, so once you start recognizing these things, you will be able to understand the context, and you will be able to understand what they are actually trying to say, rather than just getting confused about the comprehension all the time. Let's talk about third thing which is important to observe, liaison rules. Okay, or simply like liaisons and linking between the words. Okay, the phonetic linking between the words. I'll give you guys 2 to 3 examples. Vous plus our conjugation of vous, avez. Okay, so these are 2 different words, vous, avez, but when they are pronounced together, it is pronounced as vous avez. Okay, vous avez. Even though before avez there was not z, it was actually after vous, right? S was after vous, but because of the liaison rule, what happened is vous feels like one word and zave feels like a different word. Okay, but that's not the thing. It's just the liaison rule which is applying in French, so you will always have to observant about the liaison rules as well. Another example, il, which is they, conjugation of avoir according to il will be il plus on, which becomes il ont. The pronunciation is ils ont. Okay, ils ont. That's how they say. Ils ont $30. They have $30. Ils ont $30. But obviously, when a French person will be speaking it fast, or anyone will be speaking it fast, it will be ils ont $30. Okay, ils ont $30. So you guys will have to catch on the contextual expression, the contextual meaning, not just like word-to-word translation. All right. Fourth important point is rhythm and stress on the words, or rhythm and stress on phonetics, or what particular words a speaker is focusing on. All right. For example, there is this je vais au marché, but how do I say it will change the context of or the meaning of the expression. So if I say it as je vais au marché, okay, that means one thing. Okay, but if I say je vais au marché, that means the other thing. Okay, the way I am focusing on one particular entity in the expression is actually changing the context, or it's actually changing the subtle meaning behind that particular sentence. Okay, I'll give an example in English first to be a little bit more clear about this. I am going to the market. Okay, or okay, let's take this sentence. I am walking to the market. Okay, if I say I am walking to the market, then I mean that, you know, I'm not taking any other mode of transportation. I'm specifying the walk. I'm walking to the market. Or if I say I am walking to the market, I am specifically pointing out on me. I am walking to the market. If I say I'm walking to the market, then the actual context or the main focus is the market where we are walking. I'm not walking to library, I'm not walking to hospital, I'm walking to the market. Okay, so you guys will have to catch these stresses as well, the change in the rhythms, or the change or the place where the word where stress is given more, which will help you recognize the context even better. Okay, so if I say je vais au marché, so you are able to understand, you know, what are going to be the main context, and according to that prediction you will be able to predict the upcoming context as well. Another example, il est allé à la gare pour prendre le train. Okay, if I say il est allé à la gare pour prendre le train, the meaning is a little bit different. But if I say il est allé à la gare pour prendre le train, the meaning changes a little bit. But if I say il est allé à la gare pour prendre le train, you know what is happening right now. Okay, so this is also one of the ways to understand the context through focusing on the rhythm and stress. Fifth point is predictive listening. Now this is also connected to the fourth point. Okay, what do I mean by predictive listening is, when you understand one thing, your brain is able to guess the meaning from the context. Alright, so if I say this sentence to you, s'il fait beau demain, on va. Okay, what do you think can be the upcoming phrase? Okay, s'il fait beau demain, on va dash. Okay, so you'll be thinking, you know, if the weather is nice tomorrow, we are going to play, or we are going to go out, or we are going to go to the beach, something like that, right? So even if you do not understand the whole meaning of the big sentence, even if you understand the chunk of it, it helps you to predict the upcoming context, what it is. Obviously, you know, a person cannot say if the weather is nice tomorrow, we are just going to stay home. So obviously that part is gone from our listening context. Okay, so these are some of the cues, and these are some of the techniques that your brain will subconsciously have to apply in order to predict the context of what a person or what the interlocutor is trying to say. Alright, sixth one are going to be some filler words. Okay, recognizing some filler words, or just getting used to some filler words. I'll give a couple of examples. Let's talk about this word genre. Okay, genre. Okay, in English, just as we say like, you know, like it's a good thing to do. I was like, he's so happy. You know, that same thing in French is genre. Okay, so if I say il était genre super stressé, okay, the translation is he was like super stressed. Now, like in English, we are able to understand it. Why? Because we know the contextual understanding. But if you read this in French only, il était genre super stressé, you'll be like, what's going on? Alright, so this is where you also have to start recognizing these filler words, which are not the main driver of the context, but if you do not know the meaning of these words, they really can derail you in terms of understanding the context of the expression. Okay, couple of other examples. Bref. Okay, bref means in short or anyway. Okay, if I want to say anyway, we cancel everything. You know, bref, on a tout annulé. Alright, so if you know bref, you will know that this is kind of like a concluding line, that, you know, anyway, like we cancelled everything, or in short, we just cancelled. Alright, quoi is very common word. It is usually used at the end of the sentences, which means you know, or right. You know, like if I say it was weird, you know, It was weird, right? It was weird, you know, like that sort of stuff in French is quoi? C'est bizarre quoi? Right? You might think that quoi is asking question, which it is, but it's in the specific grammatical terms. Quoi also means you know. Okay? It was weird, you know. C'était bizarre quoi? Okay, so this is something which you also have to catch on to improve your listening comprehension and listening precision. So I have opened one video from this YouTube channel Easy French, and I will show you how I used to do listening practice and what are the expectations that I have. Am I supposed to listen to all of those words, or like am I supposed to understand the overall context? What are the important things and what are not the important things? Okay, now obviously according to how much you can comprehend already and how much competency you have, the ability to understand will be more or less. Alright, but I'm just like generally giving the expectation that when we are doing a listening practice, this is what we should do. Now, if you are someone who is really a beginner or who is struggling a lot while doing their French listening practice, my recommendation will be to divide the video into different chunks. Like let's say if this video is 7 minutes long, you don't have to like listen to the whole video in just like 7 minutes in just one go. Make sure to divide it into different chunks, like 1 minute, listen to that properly, repeat it multiple number of times, then go on to the next minute, repeat it multiple number of times and so forth. Alright, so that is very important. But also when you're listening, what should be your drill? Alright, so if I'm listening to this, let's go over here.
Vous décririez les hommes français? Oh wow. Je les décrirais comme élégants, comme non, j'allais dire un mot pas très français, supportive.
Qui soutiennent exactement. Vous voulez dire les femmes ou les gens en général
Je trouve de plus en plus les femmes. Enfin, en tout cas, ça dépend des générations, je pense, mais en tout cas.
See, over here you guys will be able to see that a lot of words are just chunking together and we are not able to understand the whole expression in one go. But very important that you are slowing down the speed. Please slow down the speed whenever necessary, whenever you feel like the audio is running too quick for you to understand. So let's go 5 seconds back.
Vous voulez dire les femmes ou les gens en général
Je trouve de plus en plus les femmes.
There we go. Now it's understandable. Je trouve de plus en plus les femmes.
Enfin, en tout cas, ça dépend des générations.
Enfin, en tout cas. Now there we go. When we heard it the first time, we were not able to understand it. Enfin, en tout cas, ça dépend des générations. You know, like she spoke like this, but now things are clear. Enfin, en tout cas, ça dépend des générations, je pense. Alright, and honestly, understanding this in just one go is a very tricky thing, and it will take a lot of effort. And yes, you have to give a lot of effort, but at the same time, you have to make sure that you're doing two things. One is intensive listening, one is extensive listening. What is intensive listening? We can also say intensive listening as more sort of like quality work. That means do not worry about too many resources, do not worry about doing a lot of videos, but worry mainly about understanding things properly and listening to the things properly what you are listening. Okay, so this is called quality or intensive listening. Extensive listening is more listening, basically spending more time into variety of audios and basically doing more audio so that your brain can get used to the high volume of pronunciation in French. Both of them are necessary, both of them are important, but first goal should always be intensive listening, focusing on each and every sentence properly to understand it.
Génération, je pense, mais en tout cas de ma génération, j'ai l'impression que.
Okay, now over here, when you are listening to this, sure, make sure to read the subtitles, not an issue, but try only reading the subtitles in French, not in English. If you are not able to understand something, try to first, logically apply all the grammatical rules and see what it may mean. This might be a verb, I-E-N-T, okay, it's a third person plural conjugation of the verb. That means it's an ER ending verb which is conjugated according to EL. So you will be able to connect dots like that, okay? But if necessary, then feel free to see the English subtitles as well to understand what they're trying to say, okay? And once you listen to 30 seconds, go back again, listen to it again, go back again, listen to it again. You listen to this one particular audio for 3 times at 0.75 speed, but then after you're done with that, once you're properly comfortable, then you switch on to the normal speed and listen to the same section again 2-3 times, okay? And then once that 1 minute chunk or 30-second chunk is properly understood, you feel comfortable, then you move forward to next 30-second to 1 minute chunk. So this is how step by step you should be dissecting the whole 7-minute audio or n time of audio to understand it. And at the end, there is one more thing I would like to mention. When you are listening, also try to shadow practice at the same time to work on your pronunciation yourself. Because if you're just listening, sure, your brain may or may not be able to absorb those pronunciation patterns, but when you're speaking as well at the same time you're listening, your brain really retains the pronunciation pattern. So for example, if the sentence is spoken, il faut qu'on se dépêche, okay? You just don't hear it, you pronounce it together slowly as well and fastly as well. Okay, il faut qu'on se dépêche. 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 Okay, so you slowly raise the speed of your pronunciations, but first make sure to pronounce it slowly, because if you are pronouncing slowly but accurately, that is good enough. Alright, so that's the main thing that we need to work on. So this is how to improve your listening practice. Please make sure to follow this video to the T. I know listening is difficult, but you have to do more quality work and keep practicing. Au revoir.